and welcome to LogCast episode 2. I'm here with three very special guests, and actually, I'll just let them introduce themselves. So, Camping, would you like to go first?
I'm Campin. I am a collection log main account with over 1350 collection logs. I've done a ton of clue scrolls. At one point, I was rank 3, I think, for easy clues. And that's about it from me.
Cool. We also have Weaki, the one and only.
Yeah, hello, I'm Weaki, and I'm an Iron Man who probably I'm a clogger, but I'm more of a clue scroll, like clue hunter, I guess. So I've done 12,000 hard clues and 2,000 masters, 3,700 elites or something. And I recently greenlogged the Gilded, so that was pretty cool.
12,000 hearts, that's pretty crazy. And Greenlog Gilded is even more insane. First Iron Man, by the way, to do that. Barry, how about you?
Yes, hello. My name is Barre Barry, or you can just call me Barry. I play on the GIM, but I used to play in Iron before this. Mostly into completionist content. I've got the Max Cape and GM done now, so I'm focused on purely clogs. I'm at just reached 1300 now. I'm trying to get the Gilded Staff, but I'm scraping for motivation sometimes, but we'll see how far I get. In the real world, I'm a product owner for work for a software company here in the Netherlands. So I'm kind of familiar in the software space, but not really in the gaming space, though.
Cool. So essentially today we wanted to dive into stackable clues and specifically stackable clues. There's been a lot of talk with Jagex that they're looking to change the way clue scrolls work in RuneScape. So specifically talk about making clues stackable, and there was also a Reddit thread where mod Kieran was mentioning how he disliked the 1 hour timer. And so we decided in the collection log Discord to do a survey. So I'm going to pull up the results right now of the survey. And essentially, we asked members of the community that have more than 1,200 collection log slots on their opinion for certain questions based about stackable clues. So firstly, the results are extremely obvious. There's just one specific question that was a little bit controversial. But besides for that, you can see that stackable clues extremely well received. We have around 250 votes, give or take, and majority of people are very keen to seeing it into the game. However, one question that we're probably going to talk about today for sure is if we should remove the 1 hour clue timer. So if you didn't know, in April of last year, Jagex made an update out of the blue where clues would remain on the floor for an hour before despawning. This was a massive change compared to the previous 3 minutes that they were able to stay on the floor. So you can see the community is very against this. Now, don't forget that this is very biased. We're asking the equivalent of the HLC, the high-level community of cloggers. So obviously this is not like a good comparison for the rest of the game and the player base, but it's still good to know. Now, this is a controversial question here. Should stackable clues be up to infinity? Now, there's very mixed results here, and I'd like to discuss that later with you guys on the cast as well. Now, in terms of if there are stackable clues, we asked a few questions on how it should be managed. So, for example, the first question is, should it be static? So, should it be a limit of X and it never goes up and it always remains like that? Should it increase based on combat achievements? That was a very clear no. The same thing with diaries, very clear no. It seems like the community is very against it. And remember that a lot of the players that vote here have Grandmaster or even Master Helm. So them saying no to combat achievements is a pretty clear sign. One that was very well received was, should it increase based on the quantity of clues previously solved? And it seems like a lot of people were okay with that. And then we have an other section, which people were discussing some alternatives, and Weaki as well had a proposal. So that is basically it. We shared this information with Mod Husky via DM. He hasn't responded yet, so that's maybe not a good sign. But I'm sure he's a very busy man with sailing. So yeah, that is the poll results that we went through. So now we can start touching base on some of the main topics. So, first point I have here is survey result expectations. So I don't know if any one of you would like to jump on that question first. Break the ice.
Yeah, sure. The results are kind of what I expected. Although I was kind of happy to see the infinite like stacking being closer than I thought it was. I have been kind of switching opinions about if this should be a thing at first, but now it seems like I'm not the only one. I thought it was going to be like a landslide and people were going to be very much against it. But I feel like the longer I think about it, the more it would kind of make sense, or it would like make a lot less problems and less balancing issues, I guess. So I'm quite surprised to see that being so close. I don't know about you two.
I was quite surprised it was such a landslide. Anytime I discuss stackable clues with people, there's always at least some contrarians who talk about how it's a bug and how Jagex didn't mean this to happen and like all the clue solving tech and whatever. But then when it was polled, there was only a couple people who wanted a 1 hour timer removed. And it seems like it's not even everyone who wants it removed, rather than there's being some nuance there where maybe the limit should be lower if we get stackable clues and whatever. So I was quite happy to see that there's like in the high level community there's such a unanimous force who likes this meta, or at least likes the 1 hour timer.
Yeah, I think the 1 hour timer just like helps streamline clues a lot when you're trying to actually solve them, especially when it comes to wildy suiciding. It makes it a lot easier to complete your clues. And not to mention, juggling masters for triple steps is so much easier with the 1 hour timer. I only did it a little bit with the 3 minute timer before, and man, that Castle Draken step is not fun.
I remember that. That's a thing of the past.
Fortunately, and I certainly don't want to have to go back to trying to do that.
I remember back then when I would get that step, I would just accept defeat and solve my master properly, and then just get a new triple step.
Honestly, probably the better way of going about doing it. Like I said, I didn't do much of triple step skipping with the 3 minute timer, but I definitely lost a couple masters doing that.
I did too.
Oh, can only imagine how tedious that would be. Luckily, I've never done it, but I really got into clogging back when the 1 hour timer was already there. But my God, that that would be
Yeah.
very tedious. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people got into clues after the 1 hour timer, which I think is a sign that people actually enjoy clues a lot more now with the 1 hour timer. Though it can also have to do with clogging and people getting more into the clogging, so like clues comes naturally. But I actually did almost 5,000 hard clues before the 1 hour timer, and I was kind of crazy, so I was doing jellies on my Iron Man, and then I like juggled up to 8 clues at the same time with the 3 minute timer. So I have a lot of experience like solving clues without the 1 hour timer, and the same I did a triple step juggling all the time. But the thing for me is just that even though I could do clues with the 3 minute timer, I feel like a lot of people wouldn't explore clues, and that would be kind of sad. Like they would just do clues with a blowpipe running around one at a time, and that's like going back to people just doing no tech raids instead of doing like all the cool tech. So that's why I like the timer. It makes people explore clues a lot more.
I think the biggest reason why that's the case too is because it allows you to do multiple clues at once. And I think for a lot of people, having to like de-gear to do one clue, or if you're not as familiar with clues because you haven't done thousands of them, just like it's a lot of work sometimes to figure out how to do one clue when you don't already know what every single step is and gearing up for it. So being able to just knock out like even 3 clues at once that you got off of a Slayer task feels a lot better than having to try to do them one at a time.
Yeah, the ungearing
Yeah, I
and
know.
regearing save is massive for that 1 hour timer change. But yeah, I think
Yeah,
we're like. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's right. For myself, it really got me into clogging because I really dislike like de-gearing mid Slayer task and doing the clue and re-gearing again. And I just really disliked like shelving content to start something new and then finishing it up later. So now I can just kind of do clues as my main activity. I really don't think I would be that much into clues if it wasn't for the 1 hour timer.
Cool. And
I will say it. Oh, sorry.
go for it, camping. Sorry.
It kind of surprises me that a lot of people, from what I've seen, are kind of against like a small stack of stackable clues, because I feel like small stackable clues kind of hits a nice in between of being able to do like some clues all at once, similar to what we were just saying. Especially for people who are more casual that aren't juggling. For anybody who's experienced with clues, you can juggle 10 cards that you get from Slayer or anything like that with no issues. But I feel like even just having a stack of 5 or 10 for more casual players that don't want to have to juggle kind of still allows them to have a similar feeling when doing their clues too.
Cool.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the poll result, what I was surprised with was that how split it was between like the question that you mentioned, unlimited stacking versus not limited stacking. And I voted no for that. I'm curious what you guys voted.
Voted yes,
I
but I
said
changed my opinion recently about this because I'm kind of on the fence, but I feel like it now. I feel like it should be yes. Yeah, sorry.
I voted no, but I wouldn't be against if they stacked infinitely if it was an unlock later. If you started out with 5 or 10 maybe, but then once you hit a certain either KC in that specific type of clue or total clue KC, you eventually got to unlimited. It seems perfectly fine to me.
Yeah, I voted no as well. I'm not like it's not like I'm not gonna die on the hill. Like if it becomes infinite, I'll actually be happy. It'll help me out for the clogging journey. I just find it a little excessive to be infinite. Like I'll be okay if they make a limit that's very high, like 100 or something. But infinite just feels ridiculous. I can just imagine like a skiller that has like 10,000 hard clues in the bank, just chilling from 200 mil Slayer and like all the skilling activities. Which I mean, that's good for them, and at the same time, I could be spending that time grinding hards and having more clues in them. But I just feel like that's weird. But as I said, I don't care if it's infinite. I'll still be happy. I'm not gonna start crying on Reddit or nothing. So
Yeah, I agree, LGR. I think it would be better for it not to be infinite, but like you said, it's not a hill I'm gonna die on. That it has to stay finite.
that would be really
Yeah.
cool, though. Like just a random tangent. I was speaking to Jai about this, and he is doing like some skill activities, and he does all his clues, and he's going for 200 mil all. And he was doing calcs on how many mediums, easies, and hards he'd expect to get. And he was telling me that since he greenlogged mediums, he has to like every medium he gets, he has to turn into a master, and then he has to like juggle between sepulcher and like mining and like a bunch of other activities in order to be a macro efficient. I'm just like, what the hell, man? This guy's on a different planet, dude. But yeah,
I
That
could
is one
never.
thing too. That is one thing too. Stackable clues would make it way easier to turn in for masters,
yeah.
because then you wouldn't have to worry about juggling your clues until you could get one of every tier. Or, I mean, it's less so for mains because it's really just when you get an elite, then you could open up imps for the other ones. But it would really make getting masters from Watson way easier.
I'd be so
Yeah,
good for that.
I've turned in a couple masters, and it's like it's bothersome. I want to do it because I want to turn the bad elite clues into masters, but it's just so annoying having to like get a hard clue and medium clue and easy clue. So I for sure see the appeal of just having a limited stack, especially as an Ironman where you can just like stack up a bunch of clues. The reason why I voted no was mainly because, well, I guess we're gonna get into those things later, but I feel like the implications of how people are gonna see clues could be bad, like long term. But I wouldn't mind if it happened. Like, I'm kinda 50-50 on stackable, like unlimited stackable, I guess. because the main thing I care about is having a good meta, and especially having the 1 hour timer, so clues are more fun to solve. So
Okay, you touched on a
even
lot
though
there. Let's split up your question. Do you want to start talking about the 1 hour timer, or we just deep dive more in the infinite clues section?
yeah, sure, but we can cover the 1 hour timer, like finish that, and then we can move on.
All right, let's do it. So 1 hour
So
timer, all of us, yes or no?
yes,
Absolute yes. We absolutely should keep it.
Same here. Barry?
I would say yes, but I think there would be a way in where you could implement I think you could implement something where you can like keep your triple step or keep your Sherlock clue in a different way, and then the 1 hour timer gets removed. I feel like if I can bounce the question back, why are you so attached to the 1 hour timer? Is it actually the fact that you can drop the clues and you can keep the step, or do you just want to keep like the triple step Sherlock meta that exists now? Because I feel like that can exist in a different form without the 1 hour timer.
well, I since I do so many like different clue texts, I feel like even though I understand for most of the community, it's only gonna be about the 3-step skip and maybe Sherlock skip, even though most people don't even bother with that. But the reason why I'm so attached to 1 hour timer is because when you solve a bunch of clues at the same time, you can start planning out how you're gonna approach the clue scroll, and that's another layer of depth, which is, in my opinion, very interesting, and it's part of what makes clues so fun. Like, for example, Camping mentioned earlier how you can start stacking up the wildest steps and then you do them all at the same time. But when you go even deeper, you can start planning out, for example, doing the Brassic and Mage skip. So you have a specific step you can easily skip, and then you have like an Entrana step, for example, so you don't have to do that fight. And then maybe you have 2 Entrana steps, and then you can double agent skip that on top of it. So like there's so many things, and I know most people don't even know what I'm talking about now. So like this is just
Yeah, I kind of
probably is
understood,
some
and I'm
nerd rip.
just picturing like the average
Yeah.
listener going like, "What the fuck did this guy
Yeah,
just
yeah.
say?"
So like I understand this is like way too weird for most people, but that's why I enjoy Clue so much, because there's so much depth in the content, and if we remove the 1 hour timer, all of that just disappears basically, and that
Yeah,
would be sad.
Recently too, I've also started like juggling my mini game steps for hards as well, so that you can start using more mini game teleports, and then if it's still on a cooldown, you can wait to do that step till later. But the big one is doing all my wildy steps at once. It makes it so much easier not having to de-gear for a wildy suicide step, and also for Yuri skipping too. But that's in the same vein as like Sherlock and triple skipping.
So I'm reflecting on the spot right now, but I have a pretty strong feeling the 1 hour timer is going to get removed just because Jax is going to think it's silly, and I will be sad about it. But what if, like, let's think of a way to make it so that if the 1 hour timer gets removed, we're still able to solve clues somewhat reasonably fast. So for wildy steps, imagine if you had like a plugin or RuneScape had a feature in the bank where you can auto gear, and you can have like gear set up for clues, like gear set up for wildy steps, and you can one tick change your gear to it. That would solve that portion of it. However, sorry.
I was just saying, I know that things like loadouts have been things that people have been kind of asking for a while, and slowly things like that, like the locking inventory slots and things, have started entering the game.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't just have like a one tick, click this button and it instantly gears you.
Because if that comes in a game, that at least for me solves the wildy step issue. But the other problem is the master triple step and the Sherlock skip would not be viable anymore.
Yeah, I feel
Well,
like
they
those
still
are
would,
the
but
most.
like it would be very painful to have to rejuggle every 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, I feel like those are the most prominent ones or the most used ones. When I look at the question and I see only 6 people agree to it, and 234 disagree with it. I'm wondering like how many of those disagrees have like the vision that Weaki has about this, and how many just just care about triple steps and Sherlock clues. Because I
Okay.
feel like it's a significant amount of those, but I might be wrong in that.
I mean, the triple and somewhat Sherlock, but mostly triple steps is probably a good portion of that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
So I would
well,
I
sorry.
would kind of think like I'm just thinking out loud here, but what if you had you could like give a triple step that you liked that is fast, and you could give it to Watson, and if you do it, he sacrifices your clue, and whenever you get a triple step, you get like a way higher chance of it being that exact triple step. So you don't have to juggle it anymore. You don't need 1 hour timer for it anymore, and you have like a pretty big chance to get it. I'm just ranting here, but I'm
Yeah,
just
I mean, it's not
wondering
a bad solution.
how much. I really wonder how much that would influence the outcome of that poll, because it's so one sided now, and I feel like if you would just have some sort of answer to the triple step thing, how much that would sway the result.
Well, the question, because I understand that when it comes to like advanced clue tech, I'm absolutely in the minority, and I know that even if more people start looking at like advanced master clue tech and whatever, most people are not gonna bother with it. They just wanna triple skip and like go on with their day. But the way I see it is that even if we say we do something where people can triple step skip, even though the 1 hour timer is removed, why, like, what do we gain as a community, as a game, for removing that depth, like for people who care? And that's what I wonder. Like, for example, is it we take Tob, for example. Of course, there's so much cool tech you can do in Tob and like speedrun strats and whatever, but most people are not gonna do that. But the fact that it exists makes the game and the content more interesting in my mind. Like knowing when you do the content that if you learn this, you can do like this 6 ticks faster or whatever. And I think RuneScape as a game is very interesting because there's so much depth in a lot of the content. And yeah, if we, for example, just removed the free step skip but still kept master clues the same speed, it would still remove part of what makes clues more interesting to solve, like just planning out when you bank and whatever.
I think a lot of the updates that RuneScape has had, even in like the last year, has been kind of bridging the gap between maybe the more casual player base and the high level player base, where it's like it tries to take things and makes it a little bit less daunting for the average player, but it's still like usually when they do something like that, they don't remove the stuff that makes it interesting, or like the like Wecky was saying, like super intricate details that the high level players are still doing. So even though like I agree the 1 hour timer is weird, and like from a game design aspect, I see why they would want to remove it, but from like a gameplay aspect, it would feel weird to remove all that extra depth from clues when you're trying to like streamline it more for the average player.
Well, I think the main issue is that all these texts that we're talking about are technically bugs, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense that you can solve a different clue step and still progress on another clue. Like, obviously, it's a bug. We can all agree it's a bug. However, a lot of things in this game are bugs, and that's what makes it really fun. And, like, one tick paraphrasing is a good example. If you do like 4-0 ohm, is not something that was intended, and they
That
could
was
have easily
exactly
patched it if they wanted to, because it's too makes solo chambers too easy. But that's what makes chambers fun for a lot of people. So patching it would be a bad idea in terms of a developer mind,
Yeah,
in terms of the game.
that's the way I see it. If you take chambers, for example, that when people learn chambers, they just stand there, learn all mechanics, avoid whatever. But people who actually want to like really improve on the content, they can start like learning head skips, and then they move on like even deeper because there's so many things you can improve in Cox. And I see it the same way with clues. Like nobody needs to do like double agent skipping or whatever, and it doesn't even save that much time. But for the people who wanna bother with it, it just makes the clues more fun. And the same way when, like, for example, when I do hard clues, especially, I always try to figure out what I'm gonna do next, and like that's part of me, like trying to figure out how to use all these different plugins, like for example, coloring the clues in different colors, and then I can see, oh, I have this step on the floor, and then when I go to the bank, I can pick up that item that I'm gonna need on the floor, and I don't really see who gains anything from removing that. Like even if nobody else want to do it, like the people who want to do it can gain a couple ticks and like feel good about trying to improve their like clue solving. But it's not like removing the 1 hour timer is gonna make clues more enjoyable for anyone else, in my opinion. Like I don't really see who gains from it except for it being weird, I guess.
I think
I
just
think
to play devil's advocate, I think the issue is that Jagex sees 1 hour timer as already stackable clues. So if they added, for example, a stack cap of 5, but they keep the 1 hour timers, then some of us, like me and you, Weaki, would just do the same thing that we're doing before, but instead we'll just be able to juggle 5 clues back from the bank, from like jellies or whatever we're doing for hard clues, or whatever clues tutor we're doing. So I think that's the concern. I know that's one of the arguments I've heard from reading other reading other people's perspective. But I do fully agree with you. I think we should. I hope we keep the 1 hour timer, and I hope it stays as well. But sorry,
I
Cappy,
can
I
see.
cut you off earlier.
No, I can see that argument, and I was thinking that, like, as an Iron Man, if let's say we remove the 1 hour timer, we have 3 minute timers again, but you can stack clues. For me, assuming I can like keep the scroll boxes doing hellhounds or whatever while the content, like if I do that, I'm gonna save time because the time it takes to run back, like for example, hellhounds, it takes 85 ticks. I'm not gonna solve my hard clues 85 ticks faster by having stackable, like by having the 1 hour timer. Like that's not gonna happen. So I would save time, but I still wouldn't want it because it would make the clues less interesting. And I think especially for mains, if we just remove the 1 hour timer and make clues stackable, for the mains who grind clues like buying implings and whatever, that's just a huge nerf because they already have stackable clues. And same with master clues. Like master clues are already stackables in the casket form. So for people who want to grind clues, you just remove a lot of depth, a lot of content, and you don't even give them like anything else. Only Iron Man gain anything from it, and people who like collect their clues elsewhere.
yeah, passive clues it would still be nice. I mean, I still get as a main, I still get plenty of clues from Slayer that can be annoying to run back. Or like the other day, I was going for the boots from Iraq sites, and I got like 15 hard clues. I mean, it's not that long of a time to juggle them back to a bank, but you know, it is still tedious. And man, as much as I do miss the Callisto days, I do not miss juggling 20 elites back to a bank after a Callisto session.
Yeah, I agree that like every main, when you get elite clues from whatever content or you do hard like Slayer, of course those clues are still valuable. But I still feel like the
Oh yeah,
concept of grinding clues, you're basically getting a nerf. Like especially if you take your easy clues, for example. Like you're still gonna do implinks, and as a main, you're probably not even gonna bother picking up like easy clues you get from other content unless you only get one.
I'm sorry,
no,
you
And
can't
then,
talk
I
about easy
absolutely
clues to
agree.
camping. It's
yeah,
PTSD
sure.
for him.
But yeah, like
The good old days of easies.
it's just more annoying to grind for mains, and I don't really see like I can see the balance change, but that balance change is really for people who don't grind clues. And for people who don't grind clues, it's like, yeah, if you want to have 4 clues from doing a Dagonut task, give them to like it doesn't really matter if they save a minute per clue, in my opinion.
So what kind of like compromise could we offer? Let's just say a JMod is somehow listening to one of my videos for whatever reason. What would be a good compromise? Instead of an hour, make it 15 minutes? Or what could we offer as a solution?
I mean,
I,
what is
I
isn't it most items stay on the ground for 5 minutes, but clues only stayed for 3 minutes before, right?
Clues
No,
for 3 minutes
all
before.
items
I don't know
if you
about
drop them.
other items. One thing that
Night
would
3
be
minutes for
cool
all
though
items.
is if you put an item on a table, it stays for 15 minutes instead of 3. If you can do that for clues and like the crafting guild, that would be kind of cool. That would be a good compromise, I guess. You wouldn't be able to juggle like 50 clues or 10 wildy steps, but you can still at least juggle a couple clues.
I do still feel like it's probably a weird in between for Jagex thing, because it feels like a lose-lose where they're like, well, we still haven't removed the
Yeah, they
whole
may as well
like
remove
juggling
it.
on the ground thing, but also we've made it worse for the people who are doing it. So
But I also think when it comes to juggling on the ground, since right now that's like if you have multiple clues, that's what you have to do. And the question is, the people who have an issue with juggling clues, do they have an issue with juggling the clues, or do they have an issue with not having stackable clues, if that makes sense?
Yeah, maybe stackable clues they're gonna stop caring about it.
Yeah,
Very
exactly. Because
possible.
every complaint post I see on Reddit about like the 1 hour timer and it being weird and janky, it's always people who argue for stackable clues. Like, of course, there are people who don't like the timer. They want the free timer hour, 3 minute timer back. They don't want stackable clues. Like, of course, those people exist. But I feel like the loud voices usually argue for class. Like, they use the 1 hour timer being weird as an argument to argue for stackable clues. Like, being almost like, we already have it, just give it to us. We hate the 1 hour timer, it's just weird. But for people who actually want both or like Clue, I think a lot of people really enjoy the 1 hour timer and would like it even if we have stackable clues. I don't know.
Yeah, I really feel like the only two options is to either keep it or go back to 3 minutes. I don't really see any other option like 15 minutes or so. And then I get that like Weaki, his point of view is probably a very very small minority, and it's kind of scary because I could see Jagex like kind of neglecting that thought, I guess.
Yeah.
I could see it happening where they would like make uh make a way where you could have a solution for the triple step thing and for the Sherlock skipping, and then remove it. So they will have the biggest like meta change will kind of be the same, or they can make a fun mechanic about it for it, and then they remove the 1 hour timer. I could honestly see them do it, and that would, I think, the least amount of people would really be mad about it. Only like the real sweats like us, I guess. I could see it happening though. I don't know. But in the end, I think I'd vote. I'd still keep it in just to be sure, I guess.
yeah, and like LGR was saying too, the biggest thing that personally for me, I feel like that I would lose from losing the 1 hour time for hards would be juggling wildy steps. But like what LGR was saying, if we got some sort of one-click gear thing, which is something that people have been asking for just PVM content in general for a while, that kind of stream helps with that. Sherlock skipping is nice, but I probably wouldn't die if we couldn't Sherlock skip anymore. And if there was some other solution for master triple skipping, at the end of the day, I would be a little disappointed, but I would live.
I think the big issue, like I understand that I'm the vast minority. If it comes to them, for example, making the free steps a lot faster and the timer 3 minutes, I think a lot of people won't bother with it. But it's still always gonna be more efficient unless they like go in and specifically start patching a bunch of stuff that has existed in the game for a long time. And that would also be kind of weird since when it comes to PVM, Jagex is usually very like I would even say they encourage a lot of the like weird glitches to make the sweats happy and to make the game more like I tier evolved, I guess. And I think, for example, like let's say we have a 3 minute timer, I'm still gonna Sherlock skip because you can still do that with a 3 minute timer. And the only way it would change is that now I have to stack a bunch of elite clues and solve them at the same time to start like gaining the Sherlock steps. And then I would trade in the Proud Spire step because that one is awful and you can't do that in 3 minutes. And the same thing with like you could always do the 3-minute master clues. It's just
I was doing it before. It was just very tedious, and I lost a few masters as a result.
Yeah, and that's just not fun to do. So it's like, even if you make it easier for people with the bank like grabs and whatever, so you can just do the clues a lot easier as a casual player, I don't see the value in removing it for people, because you wouldn't actually remove it, you would just make it very tedious and annoying to do. And I think me, Camping and Lone Rat can really like remember how bad it felt losing a 3-step skipper. I did it once to Durkan, and it just felt awful.
I've lost way more than one.
I would still do it because it's so much more efficient.
All right, Jagex, you heard it here first. If you remove the 1-hour timer, add destroy instead of drop to clue scrolls.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw someone mention that
that
somewhere, and I was like, oh no.
and like when it comes to all those things, then suddenly they start like messing with content that has existed in the game for a long time. Like I did hard clues, multiple of them at the same time before all the changes Jagex made, like before the 1-hour timer or whatever. So if they suddenly make hard clues destroy only, they just go in and change content that has existed in the game since it started. Well, not since it started. I just realized they changed it so you could have multiple hard clues like on the ground, right? Or what was it?
Yeah, I think way back you couldn't even juggle clues.
Well, I think you could juggle clues. Wasn't it just that when you got a casket, you had to open it, right?
Yes, I think you're right. That was
Yeah.
like right when I started playing RuneScape, so I'm not
I'm
not super familiar.
So I think in theory, like if I would go back to the old school RuneScape, like the release, you could have killed Hellhounds, juggled hard clues every 3 minutes, and then you could double agent skip and whatever. Of course, nobody would do that because nobody played that way. But they would basically, like, if they changed the way clues work, they would just like go in and change something that has existed since the game began. And I don't really see the value in it since nobody's harmed from people doing like Uri skip and whatever. It's a very small time save, and they would have to go in and like mess with the clue code to make it happen. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah, and I think
it's a big argument for Jagex. Like if they remove it, they will know the sweats will keep doing those metas anyway, but then it's just way more tedious. I think it's like one of the biggest arguments to just keep it.
Yeah, they would just close out. Like nowadays, it feels like a lot of people are doing the 3-step skipping and like even Yuri skipping and the less like advanced clue tech. Like most people are doing that, or at least most like cloggers. I guess most people don't even know or bother with that. But if it comes to fixing something, you have to like ask, is this actually a problem? Like, is it a problem when you have to spend a lot of time gaining an elite clue? Is it a problem that he can, if you choose to save like 30 seconds per elite clue? Like, I don't really see who is hurt from the clue tech existing.
And also, I mean, Jagex has like made weird changes before to prevent people getting screwed over from changes that like make content like longer to complete. The main one I think of is Ent events. They changed all other forestry events, but they kept Ent events the way they were before, because if you didn't complete the evil chicken set before that, you would have just like lost like 100 efficient hours collected. And I know people don't like it whenever someone in like a hyper specific community complains about something getting nerfed, but like if they already changed something or like they kept something weird to prevent people from getting screwed over like that, I feel like it makes sense to not all of a sudden change clues now too, which only makes it worse for people who hadn't already done 12,000 hard clues or something before that.
Yeah, I think especially when it comes to master clues, since like I think no matter what they're gonna do, like if they remove the ability to 3-step skip, master clues are gonna be both a lot less enjoyable to do, and they're also gonna be slower. And the problem is people are stacking caskets and have been doing that for years. Like it's a thing that people do, of course. And anyone who didn't solve all their masters before the nerf would just get screwed over. And Jagex would
Yeah,
tell,
exactly.
"Oh yeah, you didn't open your fourth thing. Fuck off! Now you have to spend like 2 minutes running to all the bad steps and whatever." Like
Some of
I
those
don't.
wildy triple steps, man. I'm
Yeah,
so
yeah,
happy I
exactly.
don't
Like
have to do them anymore.
it's just awful. I don't know.
Imagine Novacy logging in with a 3-minute master timer.
Oh my
Yeah,
god, I didn't think
that-
about that. For those who
Yeah,
don't know, Nova C kind of like burned out, but before burning out, he opened like thousands of hards, and he has 120 masters on the floor, and he just logged out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's so many arguments against removing the 1 hour timer, and even though I see that the 1 hour timer, like, of course, well, the 1 hour timer in itself is not even like abused. Like they added it. They made a notice of adding the 1 hour timer, and all the clue tech exists without the 1 hour timer. It's just that more people can enjoy doing it without being like the giga wiki sweat. Because like I'm gonna tell it straight, if they remove the 1 hour timer, I'm still gonna stack a bunch of hard clues and like juggle them and do puzzle skips and whatever because I'm crazy. But most people are not gonna do that. We just like makes the gap between the more sweaty gamers and the ultra sweat gamers even like worse.
Did
be
you just say
fair-
puzzle skip? What the hell? Am I like missing some new text?
Nah, like it's just that nobody bothers without except for me. But if you have multiple of the same hard clue step, you can like the hard puzzle step. You can drop the puzzle boxes and then you can hand in, and they're gonna be insta solved. So
Oh,
the tech is
shit.
to like juggle multiple of the
Jeez.
same puzzle step and then like puzzle skip.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna like clue scroll.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like that's the thing. Most people, even like the sweatier gamers, are not gonna bother with this stuff because it's such a minor thing. Like, let's say they remove the timer, they make clues like one. No, they remove the ability to drop clues even. Like, I would probably do like 20 hard clues per hour, maybe, which is worse than I'm doing now. But it's not like I'm doing 30. I'm doing like 22, 23 maybe. Like, it's not a massive thing. It's just a lot of depth that can improve your clue scrolling, like solving.
Let
A
me
lot
tell
of
you, one of the
satisfaction,
few
I think.
things,
Yeah.
Mostly.
yeah, and one of the few things that kept me sane while doing 19,000 easy clues was just like looking for super minor optimizations of being like, okay, I can emote like 2 tiles closer to the stash unit, or if I emote here, then Yuri shows up in a better spot so I don't have to move away from the stash. Like all these things that don't really matter, but like helped keep me a little bit from going crazy while I was doing so many easies trying to find just like minor optimizations.
Yeah, and I mean that's how it all started with me. Like I remember even before the 1 hour timer when I started like doing the custom ID tags and whatever. And the thing with that is like it saves 1 tick. It's such a minor thing, but it just feels good doing it because you know you're improving and you're like learning all the steps and writing short codes to memorize them, whatever. And that's like a very optional thing. Like nobody has to do that, but if they want to, it exists. And like I don't really see the issue with having more depth in the content that nobody really has to explore, because if people want, they can do like 20 clues per hour, 21 clues per hour, just running around with a blowpipe and clicking the clues. But if you really want to sweat and do all the tech, you can save a couple minutes per hour.
Well, and considering collection logging is basically clue logging, so you have to constantly be doing clues all the time for the rest of eternity. I think that's also a big thing that changes it too, is, you know, if completing hard clues took 100 hours, then, you know, maybe it's a different story about wanting to like hyper optimize it. But when you have to complete, what is it, like 250,000 hard clues on average to get enough masters in order to green log masters, then it's all of a sudden like, okay, we're going to be here for a while, so might as well try to do it well if we're gonna.
Yeah, exactly. It's just more depth that people can explore if they want to. And I feel like, and I know it's like the cloggers are usually PVMers, even though many have like turned into cloggers or clue hunters, but like from the start they were all PVMers, or most of them, I guess. And they're all very open to doing all these like sweaty tech for PVM. Like take Greg for example, like every time he talks about the boss, he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this like tick setup and whatever." And I couldn't get him to puzzle skip because he was like, "Nah, that's just too much effort."
Bro,
And
Greg was talking about bringing a blowpipe to Mospa to get an extra 9 damage per kill
yeah,
potential with
exactly.
like a
Like
specific rotation of. And I was like, bro, you're cooking a little too far there.
yeah,
I
and
mean, it
and I
is.
mean, Greg is obviously the outlier when it comes to PVMers as well. But I feel like PVMers are doing a lot of sweaty tech, and Jagex just loves that because PVM is such a big part of their like marketing. We have like all these amazing PVM streamers, and they get a lot of attention. And I think removing the 1 hour timer is removing that potential from clues. And I know I'm probably like the only one who really cares, but I don't really see the value in it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like you're saying with raids, that's another one too, where in order to get the 2000 capes in any of the raids, you're going to be there for hundreds of hours. So, like you were saying, people like to try to optimize it, try to figure out every small thing they can do to get a little bit better. Because,
Yeah.
After 1500 tobs, I'm sure you start to be like, maybe I could go a little faster actually. I got nothing better to do for another 500 KC.
If you can
Yeah,
save a minute per raid over 2 KK, you save like 33 hours. Which is
It
kind of
seems
nuts.
pretty good to me.
Yeah. All
and I
right,
mean
that's
it's the
a
same
lot
thing
of.
with Mama.
Sorry, we're just going in circles. Let's move on to the
No
next
worries.
topic.
That's good.
So, the next question is about how many stackable clues should it be? Should it be a minimum? Should it be a maximum? What should it be? And then afterwards, we'll discuss the infinity question. So, would anyone like to kick off the discussion of the quantity of stackable clues you'd like to see?
I'm
I can take this. I've had a few talks at Roomfest about this one because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't lie about it. I just straight up went to some JMods. I said I come here with an agenda. I need stackable clues to progress fast. When is this happening? And it was clear that the team like wasn't really sure on how many clues would be stackable. I've talked to Kieran about it, and he seemed like very conservative, I guess, with around 5.
Hmm.
The only issue I would personally have with that is it just moves the goalpost. If we keep the 1 hour timer, then you just take 5 hard clues and then you'll start jiggling again like you were. So I feel like it should be more like that, though, or more than 5, at least like 25 minimum. I personally say, if not infinite, by the way. However, if you do it like too much, medium game or like mid level players will not feel the urge, I guess, to get the requirements for any clue because I'll just save this till I have the requirement. Like the necessity is not there anymore. So I feel like it needs to scale pretty slowly. Like if you make a new account, I wouldn't mind you still being able to just stack one clue, and that's the one you need to do. And if you get a requirement, then you should get it so you can complete your clue score and eventually stack more. But yeah, it's very hard. But I would personally keep it around 25, if not infinitely.
You're saying like it would scale up to 25 or start at 25?
No, I would say it would stop at 25. If you would make
Okay.
a fresh account, I think it should be the same as it is now. It just one.
So it
Yeah,
starts at 1 and it scales all the way up to 25 max. That's your
Yes,
proposal.
because I feel like it's very important that like low or medium level players have like some sort of incentive to grind for a collection log step they can't do yet. I feel like it would be a missed opportunity if like they get a step they don't get, it doesn't matter. I'll just keep it and stack another one, and I'll do it when I just get the requirement passively.
That's a good take.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with you on that one because I think in a game like RuneScape where you rarely have like set goals, clues giving you goals to do, well, sometimes can be irritating, because I know plenty of people always complain about like, oh, I've got to go do this quest, or I've got to get this item to complete this clue. At the same time, I think it is really good to have those goals in RuneScape. So I agree, it should start out low and scale somehow, but I am a bit up in the air about how it should scale, because I know some people have said like every 100 clues or something it goes up by 1, and that feels kind of weird that it would be a different amount between different tiers of clues or something like that. But I would like to see it stay low at the beginning of an account as well.
I just want to add like random tangents here. So I spoke to Petco in the clan, and he plays a lot of RS3. And he said in RS3, when they implemented stackable clues, it started off at flat 25, and then eventually down the line they made it infinite. I'm assuming with like expansions and stuff. But I do really like your take, Barry, with the starting off at 0. I have a fond memory of when I was a early game Billy Bob, and I was doing a hard clue, and I got a glory trim, and I was so happy because that means I did the hunter skip and I don't have to grind the glory. And I was like probably the best feeling ever, even though it was like a 40k item or something. But early game clues were so fun, getting D-hide and MSB and stuff like that. Obviously, if there's a limit, it's less of an issue. But if it's infinite, then you would definitely rob that. People would just perma stack. But yeah.
I also I agree, but I think the most Campion touched on it. I think he didn't agree with what I had to say now, because I think I don't know what's a good limit is like on Stackable. All I know is that I think it should go up, because if you have a very low limit, then it's going to be annoying for like the end game players. Like you should like if we introduce stackable clues, you should never do like a Slayer task and then have to juggle clues back, or like have to give up the clues or leave the task. And that means the limit should easily be closer to 20 at least, because you could get 12 clues from a Slayer task. You could get like, especially when it comes to the clue metas, for example, easy clues. If you do ham members, you can get a lot of clues very quickly. And that's why I think the clues should scale based on tiers. So elite clues should have like maybe 5 from the start, and then easy clues should have 25 from the start. And then once you solve more clues and they unlock like the specific things, you can stack more clues. So my suggestion would be that if you solve 100 elite clues, now you can stack 100 elite clues. And like I mean master clues, and then elite clues is 200, hard clues 300, etc. Like the clue rewards that you actually unlock, like the emote and the items and whatever. So
I get the reason why behind that, because like functionally that makes sense. I just feel like it would be kind of weird and confusing if you had different different caps for each of the clue levels. But at the same time, if that is how they decided to implement it, I don't think it would be terrible.
yeah, because the way I see it is, like, let's say you can only stack 25 clues. That's gonna feel very annoying if you're trying to grind easy clues from ham members, for example. But if you're doing a Slayer task or you're doing a boss, like, you're not gonna get 25 elites from a day of raiding.
Yeah.
Which
You
means
can only wish.
Yeah, exactly. and that means like the same thing for an early game player. Like they are gonna get beginner clues very quickly, but they're not gonna get elite clues very quickly. Which means, yeah, maybe they can only have 1 elite clue from the start. But it could make sense that like the beginner clues you can have up to like 20 before you have to start solving them. So like I don't know what the perfect limit is. All I know is that I think it makes sense to scale it based on the tier. And since we already have like the clue reward things from specific like 100 masters and whatever, I think it makes a lot of sense to just base them on that when it comes to like achieving the either unlimited stackable if people want that, or like a limited amount. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I heard the suggestion about scaling it on the clue scroll ranks. I think they're
I
called.
was
It's
just about
it's
to
kind
mention
of
that too.
yeah. this is kind of abstract for the people who don't know, but like I think in the observatory and Watson, there's like this board that gives you a rank based on the amount of clue scrolls you complete. And I've seen quite a fair few suggestions where it was like, well, if you get a legend, I think it is, when you have done 2,000 clue scrolls, you should be able to stack 100 or so. But I feel like that will give an issue where you could, in theory, do 1,000 beginner clues, and then you would just be able to stack a lot of elites or masters instantly. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like you're kind of stuck on limiting them to the exact tier clues that you do, and those should then increase like your stacking potential for, or people will just spam beginners till they reach the cap eventually anyway.
Very good point.
that could be
I
a
do
problem.
think they should rework that board though. It's very, very old with the clue
I
ranks.
definitely didn't know it existed until somebody mentioned it the other day in the discussion about stackable clues. I'm like, this exists? What?
I think
yeah,
on my side it should be based on what, like Weaki said, the items you get from each clue. So for example, beginner 600 clues, kill count, you get the emote. At 500 easies, 400 mediums, 300 hards, and so on. And I think that should be the baseline where you maybe unlock the ability to stack clues. And I would like to see it increase to a certain cap. Now, I don't know what the cap is. I think 5 feels a little too low for me, and it hopefully should vary based on the tier as well, like Wiki said. But at the same time, I don't want it to be too complicated. I don't want to have to do like an algebra equation to calculate how many stackable clues I can stack for each tier. Like it should be very straightforward.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about some of the people who have suggested like every 100 clues you're able to stack one more, and I'm like, well, that sounds good in theory that it keeps scaling up. Like you said, it would be weird just constantly being like, wait, can I stack 37 or 36 hard clues? Can I still get another one here? You know, and having to check your clue KC or something like that.
Yeah, they should keep it as simple as
I can do it,
possible, and like maybe start with 5, and then when you get the clue milestone, it bumps you up to 25 for hards, and then for elites, you start off with 1, and it bumps you up to 5. And
I think if they go with the clue milestones, they should just like go with the clue milestones, if that makes sense. Like if you get the clue milestone at 300 hearts, now you can stack 300 hearts, and maybe that's too
like
many.
that much?
Like I'm not saying the number is good, but then it should be 30 hearts. Like we
yeah,
should
okay,
just
they
keep
should.
the,
Yeah, they
keep
should.
the numbers simple.
Yeah.
But the issue with that, I think, could be that for the more casual players, the milestones are unachievable. Like especially if you take the elite milestone, you need to do 200 elite clues. Most people are not going to do 200 elite clues, and especially since a lot of people want to trade them in for master clues, if they're like trying to get the bloodhound, then it's going to be really bad since they can't really stack in elite clues. But I don't know like the perfect solution for how to handle like stackables, like how many you can stack. All I know is that it should scale because an early game player is not gonna need to stack as many clues as someone who's like grinding clues. And if you can stack that many, all it's gonna lead to is the early game players feeling bad about trying to do clues early. Because if you have to drop a clue, that's like wasted. You just spend 10 minutes trying to solve an elite clue, and now you get a requirement you really don't want to do, and then you drop it. So I think it kind of makes sense to go like different clues have different like levels of stacks, I guess.
This is a random thing that I was just looking up because I was curious from what Wecky was saying about not many people doing a lot of elites. Only like 10,000 people on the high scores have over 200 elites done.
Oh, damn.
And I'm trying to see how many people are max, but it's over 50,000 people have maxed an account. So just to take that as a comparison.
Oh,
I mean,
it's so
to
much
be
worse than I thought.
fair, elites is like one of the worst tiers. Like most people do masters for pet instead, but still, that's a interesting data point right there. There's
Yeah,
more
if
irons that are
I
maxed.
wanna,
Sorry, go for
Yeah,
it.
it's crazy. No worries. If I want to conclude the topic, if we kind of established like the 1 hour drop timer should stay anyway. I feel like no mid level player or high level player who isn't willing to do weaky stress, I'll call it for now, should like hit the cap so he still has to juggle again if he doesn't want to. I feel like it should be somewhere where if you do like a Slayer task, or if you do, or you shouldn't hit that cap naturally. It should be just above there. And I feel
Yeah,
like with taking hearts, for example, I think 25 should be fine. Like no way you're doing a Slayer task and you're getting 25 heart clues. And then again, if you do, if let's say you are getting 40 somehow, then it's only one trip anyway to juggle because you can just hold the other ones in one go. But yeah, I feel like
I was gonna say when you're taking that into account, like let's assume we keep the 1 hour timer. If you drop a scroll box, will it stay on the ground for 1 hour in your mind? Like, can you juggle a stack of clues if that makes sense?
Or do you have
oh
to open
I'm
the scroll box and drop the clue specifically? I
Oh
mean, we're
right, yeah,
going
yeah,
into
yeah.
technicals of how Jagex is
oh
gonna play
yeah,
it,
but
though.
then you're committed. Yeah, good question though. I assumed yes, but I mean you could make it so that like the stack of clues will still be 3 minutes.
But then you'd
Yeah,
get the
this is
25 stack of like, the bottles or whatever, and then you'd be like, oh shit, I hit my cap. You drop a clue, and then another clue. Okay, you drop that one, so that way you never actually hit the cap in your inventory. I'm just theory
yeah.
crafting how I would, abuse it.
I mean, I have wondered along with that too. I'm like, if I'm sitting at rogues chests or something like that, because I was doing that for a while, and I hit the clue cap or have like even like 5 hards in my inventory, can I drop those so I don't lose them to a PKer that comes by or something? Because that would really suck if you had a stack of clue bottles and then someone PKs you and you lose all of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, and it's related to stackables that it's very important since for some awful reason related to Ring of Wealth I, a lot of the clue metas or like clue stuff is in the wilderness right now. And if they remove the 1 hour timer, that's gonna be super awful. And like if a PK kills you for your clue, they're not gonna gain anything like PK wise, but they're gonna do it because a lot of PKs like ruining it for like PBMers. So I think, for example, Hellhounds would be very annoying to do if they remove the 1 hour timer or like don't let you drop the scroll boxes or whatever.
Yeah, you'd have to
So
tally out every clue just so you don't risk
yeah,
a clue,
exactly. It would just be awful.
which would
And
Though
then
they
you
could
don't have stackable clues since you just teleport out. Like it's just weird if they don't let us drop the clue boxes.
So they could finally make clue boxes not terrible if they save like the entire stack or something. But that's a whole nother
Oh,
story.
that's
I can't
true. I
even remember where
Yeah.
forgot.
clue boxes come
I
from.
think
I think it's
From
clue
elements.
boxes.
Elementus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've not used that
Uh,
in freaking ages.
same.
They aren't they like super expensive, dude? Maybe I should start
I think they're
investing.
yeah,
like
they're
150K or something.
176k. Okay, that's actually more than I expected.
but I think that's another issue. Like, if we remove stackable, like if we remove the 1 hour timer, or if we like make them not be able to be dropped or whatever, then people need to like grind last man standing to get clue boxes to get killed at hellhounds, and like that gameplay loop is just going to be very awful. And of course, the solution would be just to move the clue metas from the wild, and I think every clogger supports that. So I don't think that's necessarily a problem for the cloggers, but I know PKers like being able to kill cloggers. So
This is
I
this is a tangent, but like
yeah, sorry.
please Jagex make more bosses that drop like 1 or 1.5 elites per hour, not this like drops 1 elite every 3 hours. Again, super tangent, but like it doesn't even need to be better than Callisto, just like not terrible, preferably.
Yeah, +1 to that retweet.
But yeah,
um,
I think there's a lot of like those things that Yagis have to take into consideration. That if they make the scroll boxes, like if you can drop them for 1 hour, if you have the 1 hour time left, like that would make clues a lot more enjoyable to do. But yeah,
all
it's
right.
a task, I guess.
So next question was about like stackable clues up to infinity, but I think we kind of already touched it. I don't know if any one of you would like to add more to it.
Well, I would just like to expand on the thing that Barry mentioned, since I've been talking about that a lot too. That if we implement unlimited stackable clues from the start, the implications that would have for like the early mid-game players would, in my mind, be very bad, because I remember being a mid-level Ironman, and I have a lot of like mid-level Ironman friends who are currently progressing towards the end game, and I know clues have always been a great motivator to finally get that skill requirement or that quest or whatever. And if you could stack clues for a long time, like infinite amount of time, or like a very, very like large amount of clues, then that motivation would instead turn into a nagging feeling of having to save them until you have all the requirements. And since there's a lot of like high level requirements for clues, especially masters, that would mean that a lot of players would feel obligated to just perm stack clues in their bank. And I don't think that's a good thing for like mid. Like you should be able to do your hard clues with your dragon dagger you just unlocked and whatever. Like that. That's a very fun thing to do. And the same thing like getting a skill requirement for an elite clue or a master clue. Like that's a great thing to be motivated about. So
Yeah, and I mean, you can already kind of see that a little bit with the way master clues work, is that it's efficient to just hold on to all of your caskets until you can do all the master steps. And I've got a Twitch mod who that's exactly what he's doing right now. So it's a pretty not fun loop, especially when you're stacking caskets. So you've already done all the work of doing the clue, but then you're like, oh, I've got to wait until I have all the master requirements first because I don't want to lose out on any masters.
Isn't that
yeah,
what like
and I
Alkin's
don't
doing?
think
Like
that's
he's
necessarily
got
good.
thousands of hards stacked, just waiting for the Huey hide. I think. So random
Yeah.
Who
tangent.
is that?
Go for it, Wiki. Alkin.
It wouldn't
Or,
surprise me.
But
what are you gonna
yeah,
say?
so I don't think, like, even though the master clue like reward design, it's already in the game. It is what it is, and
Yeah.
that's why I was gonna propose that regardless of how many clues you can stack, I think if you get a master clue from a casket, it's unlimited stackable. And that would also make it so when people like want to open, they could open like 5k elite clues and just stack up all their masters. They don't have to juggle on the floor. They don't have to do anything. Since when you get a clue from a master, it's already a reward. So, like, even though it goes against the argument I made towards like motivating mid-game players from progressing, but I still think if we want to have stackables, it could make sense just make it so if you get a master clue from a casket, it's already like you can stack how many of those as you want, but you can't make more from like Watson by turning in masters. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I've heard other people toss out that suggestion too of like specifically masters stack infinitely or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, it would help solve a little bit of that issue with how masters are rewarded.
It'd be kind of cool seeing stacking them too. Actually, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can't quite get it out of my head that it would kind of annoy me that it would be like irregular compared to the others. I get your reasoning though, but I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean, I did
And
just mention earlier that I thought it would be weird if different tiers of clues had
yes,
different caps. So I mean, I am being a little
yeah,
hypocritical there when I say
y-
that, but
yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
and
hard
I
one.
mean,
And I think the most important question here is like when should they become infinite, if infinite at all, right? Because like
yeah.
the argument me and Wiki were both saying, like you want to motivate your med level Iron Man to get the requirements. That could still be a thing if you would only like get the infinite stackable unlocked whenever you do X clues in that tier. Like if you for example only get it when you've done 1,000 hearts, I assume you can do all the steps by that point.
Yeah,
So then
absolutely.
that wouldn't really be an issue then. So the more I've been thinking about it, I'm kind of on the infinite boat, I guess, but just quite late in your clue grind, so it doesn't demotivate you to get all the requirements for all the steps. And it solves the problem where it just moves the goalpost in terms of when do you start juggling. Because let's say if they will do very conservative stacking and they end up choosing 5 somehow, well, you're just still juggling again. And it being infinite just completely negates that anyway. So that I would personally say that would be my best bet. Just very late into your clue progression.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about the like at 600 beginners, 500 easies, 400 mediums. That's when you get the special item or emote. If they had started out at like 10 or something and then made it infinite after that, that would also seem reasonable to me.
Yeah, I think either make them unlimited at that point or make them like a significant amount. Like, let's say you solve 300 hearts, now you can stack 30 and you can stack 20 elites. Like,
Yeah.
That amount is large enough that now you don't have to disrupt your gameplay for it. But it's still like if we don't want unlimited stackable, and if we have unlimited stackable at that point, if you have sold 300 heart clues, you probably are not in a point where you like have to progress your account and like complete a quest to finally do like the Karamia hard clue steps or whatever.
That would be wild if that were the case.
So I think it kind of makes sense to utilize the rewards we have to like solidify the limit going up as you solve. But I know, like, since if we just go back slightly to the survey results, that most people agree that we should have clues like as a basis for raising the limit. But I think that's where possibly the high level community will differ a lot from the more casual community, since a lot of people are probably gonna be in the camp of wanting unlimited stackable right away or wanting like the limit right away or whatever, since it would feel bad for the new players not having everything at once. But I don't think like I still think it's better designed to make it a reward that you unlock, since if you
Agreed.
solve a lot of clues you unlock something and that feels good.
Cool. That was a good discussion. There's one thing that I forgot about stackable clues and the 1 hour timer. It's if they remove the 1 hour timer, they will be essentially screwing over the level 3 cloggers, which, okay, there's only like one person, and also the snowflake accounts that are trying to solve clues, like the I'm just thinking about Verf with his like chunk locked account. That would make solving clues for him practically impossible. Still possible, but very, very unlikely. So,
Yeah,
so
it's
I
a
just
good
forgot
point
about
actually.
Yeah, I
I
forgot
don't
to
know if
mention
you
that.
recall the Swampletics episode about
I
that.
was just gonna say that.
Yeah. I think he was hunting like a medium, or he did like a medium
There's a
clue
hard
eventually.
clue from
Yeah.
vampires, I think.
Didn't he die? Wait, that's what it was, right?
I think during that grind is when he had AFK'd
Wiped,
and
yeah.
wiped, yeah.
It's a long time ago, goddamn.
Yeah.
And I
No,
think especially sorry.
I would say I think he's also said in some of his like reflections being like that was the worst grind I've ever done and it destroyed me because he was just doing like 14-hour sessions of killing vampires trying to get like 3 steps that gave him a 30% chance of completing a hard clue.
That's ridiculous. Okay,
But yeah,
sorry,
I
that was
was
a random tangent.
no, I think that's a very good topic because I forgot to mention it, but that's also like a point where when it comes to nerfing content, that's gonna screw over like a very niche community. When it comes to skillers, like I checked the high scores, and the skiller with the most hard clues completed is 350, and he also has like 27 master clues completed. And if they remove the 1 hour timer for skillers, you're never gonna complete a master clue. Basically, you're gonna struggle to complete hard clues. And especially since even if you juggle with a 3 minute timer as a skiller, you're gonna be like a lot of steps you can't reach in 3 minutes that you would otherwise reach like as a
And
main.
killing the Yuri or something would take way more than 3 minutes. So
Yeah, exactly. So like there's a lot of things where you just screw over niche communities like Snowflakes, Ironmans, and limited account builds. And especially since they have a high score for skillers and for peers, like the people who solved clues the last year is going to have such a huge advantage, like high score wise in clogs and whatever. So that's another thing to take into account, that it's not only the super niche clog tryhard Weaki style who want a puzzle skip. It's also all the Snowflake Ironmans and Snowflake accounts that are gonna lose something that they could have done for the past year.
Good point as well. Okay, so the next item I have on my list was just like I think this was from like JT and I, Sabecast. We talked about Rogue's outfit working with thieving clues. So if clues are stackable, would you get 2 clues instead of 1? So I did some math on that. It's like napkin math essentially, but for easy clues, currently if you're tick perfect, you can get 60 easies per hour on the floor, and that's like no tick loss. That's very doable, but it's not very high intensity actually. So with this, you'd be able to get 120 easies per hour, like on the floor in your inventory, but not solved.
Is that including juggling them back to the bank?
No, that doesn't include that. It's just like straight up on the floor. And for
yeah,
mediums,
and I mean, if we got stackable, it wouldn't matter anyway.
It wouldn't
I was
matter,
just curious.
Which would be kind of cool. And for mediums, it would actually tie the eclectic impling meta, and you'd be able to get 20 mediums per hour by thieving gnomes, which is equivalent to what Puro is. That's only assuming the rogue's outfit works. I would assume they would make sure it's not the case, because that would feel OP, but it would be kind of fun actually. I just wanted to mention that. I don't know if there's anything to discuss here for that topic.
If they do, I don't think you can parchment Rogue's outfit. That would be a bit awkward if you were trying to thieve chests in the Wildy, because that would be the new meta.
But it doesn't
you can't
work
get
for
double
the
clues,
chests.
for chests.
What was that?
Sorry.
It doesn't
Oh,
work.
Rogue's outfit. Oh, it's only thieving
It's only pickpocketing.
NPCs. Gotcha.
One
Did
thing that's
you do
interesting
any
too, though, is it would be good for elites. You get around 2 elites an hour if they did that.
From heroes?
Yeah.
heroes? Yeah.
Kind of annoying to do.
That would actually be very huge.
But Weaki would pop 200 mil thieving.
Yeah, for sure.
I would probably do that too. I've been considering
I would
getting
too.
200 mil thieving at Rogue's chests, so I would join you guys there.
Hey,
Yeah, fine.
UPK
We all pop 200 mil
hotspot.
thieving. but yeah, I think it's kind of broken. But as an Iron Man, I like it because the Iron Man metas are so bad. Like eclectic implings especially is just awful, and I think skilling for clues could need a bit of love, I guess. Even though the easy clue meta would just more than double, since stackable clues would already save like 30 ticks having to run back, and then double on top of that. So yeah.
Yeah, the easy clue number is pretty wild, but like 20 mediums from thieving gnomes and 2 elites from thieving heroes. That seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, like I don't think those are a big deal, and I would love having another meta for medium clues, because I don't think any Iron Man enjoys hunting the eclectic implings. So
Yeah. And I kind of wonder how it would hold up if you compare it to green logging those clues. Because like easies are like, they would be crazy fast. But then again, green logging easies takes ages comparison to mediums anyway.
On average.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. So in that sense, I wouldn't really mind it too much if it's way faster, but I could see why people is against it. I don't really have a very strong opinion about this one though.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
like,
I
would
probably shouldn't
understand
talk too
Jagex
much since I'm not an iron, so
yeah. But I would understand Jagex not doing it, and I would kind of agree with them on like in a balance. Like unless they address it or poll it or like talk about it, I think it's kind of broken to just sneak into the game, just doubling the amount of easy clues irons could get. But I think it's good because the current metas are just awful. So especially being able to get 2 elite clues per hour from thieving would be very good for the game, I think, because the current elite metas are just awful.
I mean, like I was just saying. Too, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. Like finally, Iron Man skillers could actually start grinding clues in a different way, I guess.
And as long as it keeps me out of Puro, I'm happy. Not gonna lie.
Cool. All right. So the next topic I have here is So this is mostly like a technical question on how stackable clues would work. So obviously we have the data point from leagues where it's like it's not a clue bottle. What's it called? I always blank the name.
Box, I think.
Is it clue box? Like the
Scroll box, right?
scroll box.
Am I?
Is it scroll box? I'm not even sure.
That sounds correct to me, but I don't usually play leagues.
I don't either.
Yeah.
DM someone
All
real
right.
quick.
It's a scroll box, yeah.
Okay, scroll box. So it's like an item that holds all your clues in a stackable form. Now I was wondering, what if instead your clue would hold an inventory slot each, and you can stack infinitely? It's just each clue would take up a bank space. Now I know there's before I go, I know Weaky's gonna correct me. There's like there would be a bug where like the same steps could stack as 2 items, and then you can like have 27 of the same step and just like dig at the same spot 27 like that. Let's just say Jax fixes that, and every clue is a unique ID. Like, would that be a cool solution? So that clues are technically infinite, but they take up a bank space.
I personally really don't think so. Then it basically like the amount you can stack is like based on how well you clean up your bank, I guess, which is annoying for irons because they use way more bank space. And then you might as well start a GIM so you get the shared storage and you can stack more clues that way.
Well,
Trade clues
become
for game
tradable,
teammates.
so
Yes, guys.
Yeah, I really don't think that should be a thing, no.
Okay.
I think
anyone else?
functionally speaking, it sounds like balanced and fine, but just like obviously I don't program the game for Jagex, but I can just see there being too many technical issues with trying to implement something like that.
yeah, I'm telling you that regardless of how they try to implement it, and like 1 week later, I'm gonna be at Crandor with 27 steps and be like, "Yo, this is the new meta." So I think in theory, like if we assume they patch all the problems with it and the clues are the same or whatever, it could kind of work. Since if you're on a Slayer task, if you have to pick up 12 clues and they take 12 slots, like that's kind of balance wise pretty healthy. But at the same time, I don't think it will, like it's just gonna be weird and broken, I think. So I would rather not have them mess with clue code, because I also think if they mess with the clue code, they could just accidentally fuck it up hard, and then the clues are gonna be weird to solve, or like
Or they can fix all
suddenly
the
there's
little
gonna be
fun
like a
stuff.
1 tick delay every time you get a double agent and whatever. Like, nah,
Yeah.
please leave the clue code alone.
I just see
Yeah.
there being too many technical issues with that.
Yeah, and I feel like Jagex knows this isn't the way to go because I feel like they changed Wintertop crates recently, right? They used to work
Yeah.
like that anyway,
Well, I
and
was
now
gonna
they
say that, yeah.
they changed it to be the
That's a
same as
good point.
Tempros. Yeah, I mean, as many bank space issues as we have, I don't think we should like introduce new ones like that. No.
Forces you to buy those extra bank slots, baby. Gold sync.
Yeah, would be
I,
a
I
good
also
gold sync though.
I also think most players will be very annoyed by like their bank being a mess because they can't find the clue scroll right here or whatever. Like, especially too, since when it comes to how you could do clues, that even if you can't bring multiple of the same step at the same time, the meta would be to start stacking the more annoying steps in your bank and then start solving them at the same time. Because, like for example, master clues, there's a lot of master clues that requires a lot of annoying items and whatever. Like for example, the runite, you have to bring out the whole set to make it work, and then suddenly you would have to like bank those clues so you could do them later, like multiple back to back to back. I don't think it's good for clue solving to make it that way, but I don't know.
I would be kind of scared that I will look at my junk tab and think with every item, a gnome scarf. I keep this for Fashionscape. Is this worth a hard clue? Like,
Yeah, that's
I
also
don't know.
true.
Cleanse your
It would
bank
be
hard.
yeah.
All right. So the next point I have here is how we kind of touched on it already, but how the variable stackable clue reward should be. Should it be from CA's diary to clue completion? But we already kind of touched on that. I don't know if there's anything we maybe missed in the past discussion.
The one thing that I was curious about is I had actually previously kind of thought that it would make sense to be tied to achievement diaries, and then I ended up being one of like 9 people who said yes to that and 200 or whatever that said no.
Really, you
So
didn't mention that earlier.
I was curious about why everyone else was like, no, not achievement diaries, absolutely not.
Okay, I'll go. I'll just shoot it. So I'm not a fan of I'm not a fan of the Zuck helm where you have to maintain it. I'm more like aligned with Sebe on it, and I feel like the Zuck helm should have remained something that's prestigious where you get it as a cosmetic and that's it. There's no next KC entry, whatever, like God Wars, and no, there's no 3 Jad. Like all the rewards are pushed on the master tier, and the Zuck helm is just a cosmetic and that's it. But that ship has like long sailed now. They have such good rewards, and I don't want them to add more to it. I find it's already OP enough, uh, unless they add it to elites and like they did for
No,
the.
Camping mentioned the diary, not
Oh,
the
the diary.
diary.
You're
Yeah,
talking
Yeah,
about
achievement.
diary.
Yeah, sorry, achievement diary, not combat
shit,
diary. I
okay,
think
I was
combat
on.
diary would be so weird for it to be added to.
Uh, Someone else go then. No, I just got caught off guard.
Yeah, I can pitch my case for why I don't agree with that. And the reason is simply that when it comes to clue progression, there's a lot of clue rewards that, like clue steps that require you to do quests or like get a skill requirement or whatever. And I don't like the concept of people feeling like semi-forced to start rushing the achievement diary so they can start stacking the clues. I much prefer that they have to solve clues to stack clues, since then you do the content to then later make it more chill to do, I guess. And I
Yeah.
think that makes sense from a design perspective to have people
That
do the
does make sense, yeah.
and then
Mm,
like it's easier.
Yeah, 100% agree. And like you want to, um, I would be kind of scared that people would think, oh well, I got this clue now, but I don't really want to do it yet because if I do my achievement diaries first, then I can stack them. So I'll postpone doing clues for now, and I'll rush achievement diaries. Even don't really care what it is, achievement diaries or CAs, or even put them on the new collection log tiers that exist nowadays. I feel like that just promotes postponing or postponing clues in that sense because you want to do it later on when they're
Mhm.
more stackable. So I feel like the only real answer is it should come from clues itself. So you would never like feel inefficient by doing them instantly.
I will mention too, I think functionally speaking, it would almost make the most sense if it was tied to collection log tiers, but I know that they already said that they were never going to add benefits to those, and I feel like walking back on that now would probably make a lot of people really unhappy. So I get why that's not the solution that they probably ever want to do.
Yeah, I was kind of on that boat. So I thought, well, that wouldn't be a bad idea. And I talked with Kieran on Roomfest about it, and he kind of changed my mind on this because he was like, what? Let's say you get the ability to stack 10 clues at 500 collection logs, whatever tier that is.
Mhm.
Then people will like feel forced to get to 500 collection log slots without doing clues because it's going to be annoying and you want to do the 500 first so you can just stack them and it will be way more quality of life based, I guess. I don't know. So I
I
feel like
guess, but also at the same time, the fastest way to get collection log slots would be doing clues. But I see the point.
But I also think, like similar to the diary, that people would be motivated to go for like going to Castle Wars or Trouble Brewing or doing like the actual clog boring stuff. And when it comes to early mid game level players, like especially, that's not content that they should be doing since they could AFK other content and actually progress their accounts. So
It is true.
yeah,
I have always liked how optional it is to, engage with any sort of content for the collection log. How there's a lot of content that normally people wouldn't do that you do because it has collection log slots. But then adding a reward to that would make it so that you're like, oh, well, now I've actually got to do this. And it's like, that wasn't really the point.
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
good take. I mean, I'd prefer it's based on clue clues completed, but if Jagex is really adamant on it being on diaries, okay. It's better than combat achievements, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the same thing, like adding it to the clog staff rewards, whatever. I don't think it's the worst idea, but I think the implications of how people would start viewing collection logs would be bad long term. And I also think if we add the clue rewards to it, people are gonna be like, oh, but we need more rewards, and why is gilded staff so useless compared to how much time it takes and whatever.
Yes. Yes.
So
Mhm.
I think like
Yeah.
it's a Pandora's box for making
I mean,
clogging a chore for everyone.
I
yeah,
just
it would
hope.
be
Go for it, sorry.
uh, it would be end up the exact same way as combat achievements, right? I
That's
think
what
that
I was gonna
started
say.
out purely cosmetic, and then
Yeah.
you add rewards to it, and then they aren't good enough, and then now people feel sad they lose those good rewards because they added new stuff into the game. It's
Yeah.
100% agree. They shouldn't add anything to it apart from cosmetics.
Yeah, and I'm a
And I
big
think
fan
if
of the
they add
staff, by
stuff,
the
they
way.
should add like other stuff, I guess.
Cool. All right. So the last point I have here is the Weaki Clue Guild idea at Watson Bank. Weaki, I'm assuming that's you.
Yeah. So like it's not really an idea as much as it was just a seed of a thought of how we could approach Stackable differently. And what I did basically was I added a clue chest and a bank chest in Watson's home. And then I said the door is always open, so like you don't have to deal with that. And basically, since we already have clue rewards for like the different tiers, if you solve 500 easy, you get the large spade. If you solve 400 mediums, you get the clueless scroll and whatever. And basically, I added small perks, or like in some cases, pretty big perks, to all the different things. So you would basically be motivated to grind clues to unlock specific like clue related rewards. And the big thing that you would do is that you could pay Watson. I said 100k, but like the sum doesn't really matter. Maybe there would be like a different balance on what you use. But basically, you would teleport clues to his chest, and then you would grab them there and solve them. So the clues would be stackable, and there would be like a limit of how many clues you could store in his chest, depending on how many clues you have solved. And you would grab them from there. So you wouldn't like mess around with clues bottles in your inventory or like having them in your bank or whatever. And instead, Watson would become like a clue guild, I guess. And everyone would solve their clues, like start at Watson. And then the big thing would be like, for example, I wrote the heavy casket. You would have infinite teleport to Watson by like the animation would be jumping inside the casket and then you teleport to Watson. So yeah, that was the idea, I guess.
I'm like really fond of this idea. I don't know how I would flesh it out, but like having a clue guild where you like unlock more stuff in based on clues completed and you get like more quality of life stuff. That seems like a great idea. It's kind of if they will pull stackable clues in like soon, I think. But I feel like they they will miss an opportunity to not do something like this, right?
Yeah, I personally think it would be interesting that at least they float something like this first. And then if people are negative towards it, they just pull stackable clues and get it over with. But I think it would be kind of cool to treat clues differently, where you can like teleport them to Watson and then you go to Watson to solve your clues. And then as you solve more clues, like the rewards I wrote were very like, for example, I wrote with the large spade that you can use it to dig for clues, which is basically useless. But in theory, you could add a bit more useful things, like for example, teleports to Grandor or whatever. Like you could add more rewards to the clue tiers, but I just wanted to keep it very basic and like I wrote that if you have 100 masters, the scroll stack can store like an unlimited amount of clues. So that would be like unlimited clues as well, but you have to bring an item with you and you have to solve 100 master clues first. So it would kind of be like a reward instead of just randomly changing the way mechanics works.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this idea. I think it opens the box for like future clue expansion ideas, and rewards and stuff like that. I'm not saying remove green log, but sorry, I just shouldn't have mentioned that. But it opens up like new updates that are clue focused, maybe new clue sources or quality of life updates and stuff like that. So definitely good direction.
Yeah.
I don't think Jack is gonna do that just yet. I think they're probably gonna address stackable clues first, and maybe down the line we can see something like that.
Is there something like a clue guild in RS3? Does anybody know? Because it seems like something that would exist, but I actually have no clue.
From
I
what I
don't know.
do you know Barry?
No, sorry.
So from what I know from Petco, there is like a sort of guild, and there's like a reward shop, and you get points for solving clues, and you can buy certain like outfits to help you skip steps and stuff like that. It's a very in depth. I don't know all the details. Petco's online. I can send him a DM.
No, it does. It does sound like something that would be really cool to have, considering how much time we all have to spend on clue scrolls. Would be cool if there was a clue guild or some sort of clue focused area.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing about Watson, because I tried to not make it OP in the way that, like, for example, I wrote that the teleport to Watson would be like as far away from a chest as crafting wheel. So, like, we wouldn't have a new banking meta or whatever. But the cool thing would be that all the clue solvers would start like grouping around Watson instead. And I kind of like the concept, similar to how Crafting Guild is like our unofficial max guild, because every planet like who's maxed
Yeah.
with like high level goes there, and then Watson would slowly become like the unofficial clue guild, just by having like not even anything special there as much as just a clue chest and a bank chest.
I was
But
gonna
of course,
say,
you
I'm
could
like,
add other stuff.
Crafting Guild is almost like a clue guild too, with how many times I see people juggling clues there. So
Yeah, that's actually true.
Yeah, I feel like the develop like this is obviously such a cool idea, right? And I feel like the developers probably had an idea maybe similar or like this, or at least something like we. I could see them have the idea where they wouldn't just bring stackable clues and that's it, but do it like in a cool way, like your idea, and then you get like into this kind of scope creep and design this, and that has a lot of issues, and they get discussions like we had for the last 2 hours, or yeah, that's I think the reason why we still don't have stackable clues yet, because it's just so difficult to add these things, and you just keep on designing forever. So, even though I really like the idea, I would be really surprised if we actually got something like this. But I love to
Yeah,
see.
I don't expect it either.
Maybe in a few years if we get lucky. But yeah.
well, when everybody's hard locked to only clue scrolls, maybe then they'll take a look at it again.
Oh, by the way, shout out Sedge, first player to be officially third age locked in the clue scroll section. It's kind of crazy.
Insane.
Yeah, so insane.
Oh,
That was recent.
crazy. Crazy. Saw his master opening like
Like
a month
2000
ago.
masters, no collection log. I didn't see math,
Can
and
you-
he wasn't even supposed to like expect a clog from that many masters.
Oh.
Yeah, he was expected like 1.3 pieces of third age, and then he ended up getting a hard piece of third age. And I'm like, dude, that is so depressing.
That's crazy.
Didn't even get a master third age roll. That was a dupe. Just
That's
a hard
sad.
clue one instead.
I could never get that far.
He said he's still doing shades. He said in like a
Gross.
VIP section, like I'll do a bit of shades between PVM goals. I was just like, what the hell, man? Man's built different.
He probably surpassed 200 mil ages ago, right?
200 mil.
Like 200 mil fire making.
Yeah, he got 200 mil prayer too from shades.
I was gonna say, I'm assuming 200 mil prayer even, yeah.
Oh, that feels like Stockholm syndrome. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, so I think that's all the list. Is there anything else any of you would like to say or add?
No, I think we covered like most things related to stackables.
Cool.
Well, the only thing that I want to reiterate is please, Jagex, give us more like interesting clue metas. I
More
think it's
clue
such a
metas
shame.
and don't remove the 1 hour timer. That's a TLDR.
Yeah, exactly. That's the TLDR. Like, make
And
bosses great.
so okay, I'll do the quick conclusion summary. So keep 1 hour timers, please, if you can. It adds a lot of depth in clue solving and makes it really fun for the degenerates like ourselves. And also, I would say in terms of stackable quality, do you, Jagex? I don't think there's a consensus on that.
Yeah, I mean, all of us agree that stackable clues make sense, but we just spoke for what, like 2 hours, and all of us basically had different ideas of how exactly to implement it. So
Yeah.
It's not an easy feat. I'll give that to Jagex. It's a complicated change to do and will affect the game for the foreseeable future, and it brings it closer to RS3 as well. So I hope they're not impulsive with it and they take their time and actually maybe survey some players and get feedback and slowly work on implementing it. And,
I think one thing when it comes to how many clues you can stack is that unless you remove the 1 hour timer, you can be pretty careful with it and then like raise the limit later. But if you add unlimited stacking right away, that's gonna be it. Like players are gonna riot if you remove it later, since that's kind of how it goes. It's the same thing here. Like players wouldn't have screamed to give us a 1 hour timer 1 year ago, but now everyone who solves clues would be very annoyed and angry if you remove them, because we know how good it is and how fun it is to solve the clues with a 1 hour timer. And I think it would be similar to, like, especially all the people who have stacked a lot of clues. If you add unlimited, they're gonna be pissed if suddenly they have to start solving right away. Yeah.
yeah, very true.
yeah, it's a common marketing or like business knowledge where like if you remove something from your customer, they're gonna get upset, but if you make it seem like it's better, they won't. It's like how they keep the prices the same but lower their proportions so customers don't riot. It's the same concept here. Sorry, random tangent.
I'd like to add to this because like RuneScape 3 made it so they could stack to 25, right? And now eventually they made it infinitely. That kind of feels like the whole trading post thing old school did, yeah, like years
Oh
ago.
my
They
God, I
pulled
remember
like,
yeah.
oh, do you want the GE? And the community like kind of didn't want it. And Jaggers the team was smart enough to know like the community wants it, they're just not ready yet. So we will make the trading post, which is like an as version of the GE, and then we'll make it with all like the GE backend, and then the community will finally realize they want the GE, and we will make it very quickly. I feel like they could just do the same thing here and make stackable clues on quite a small amount, and maybe the community then will realize, well, we kind of want infinitely stacking clues, yes, and then we'll
Started
give it
out at
then.
5 cap at the beginning, no scaling, and then everyone's like, "What are you doing? We need more. We need more."
Yeah.
But
We'll
I
have
think
another
the
task in like 3 years. Like, why is the cap only 100? I get 450 hards an hour at sailing by throwing my
Never
net in
ends.
the fish.
but I think the important thing for Jagex is that, like, if you pull stackable clues, please don't like inherently touch the 1 hour timer. And then if people don't like it because the 1 hour timer is kept and you know you're only gonna get it through or whatever, like then you can start thinking about it. But I don't see the reason why you should propose something that would make the game less enjoyable for people, while most people just want to stack their clues and they're never gonna touch or bother with the advanced tech anyways.
Yeah.
Like that's I think just go slow and pull something simple, or pull something more like enjoyable, like a clue guild or something more exciting that I think people could get behind just because it's something new and fresh. But yeah.
Also, another random tangent. Husky mentioned this week that sailing is gonna have clues, and that got me really, really excited.
Of course. We gotta have our clues from sailing.
Hell yeah! I've been saying that
Imagine
for
if
so
you can
long.
get like free elites per hour stackable from the highest level of the Barracuda trials. I'm
Like,
getting
even if the
200
skill is
I was just gonna
complete,
say 200 mil sailing, baby. Let's
exactly.
go.
Even if the skill is complete shit, if it shits out clues, I'll be going for 200 mil all. 200 mil sailing, not 200 mil. Fuck that.
Oh no, he said it already. 200
Too late,
mil
shit.
all.
It would be so
You
fun.
committed now.
It would be so fun if they did that with like the Barracuda trials, and the fastest one would be like the elite meta, and you could stack infinite, so you didn't have to do them right away. And then the top page of sailing is gonna be like
All clue
the
legends.
200 mil all skillers, but there's also gonna be like cloggers who just grinded clues all day.
Oh, that'd be so funny.
Yeah.
All right, well, this was very fun, boys. Hope to have you guys again another time.
Can I have a unrelated plug real quick?
Go for it. What is it?
Jagex, add the moon helm to the collection log. That is
Yes,
all.
retweet. Even though people are gonna mold, that'd be kind of fun.
I've
Are you
got
still
50
grinding them?
loops. I've got 50 loops in the bank right now. One whole tooth. So also Jagex, please give us some good tooth metas in Varlamore Part 3.
I'll have to wait and see for that. I got
Otherwise,
4 of them.
I guess we're potting a lot of Huey masses in the future, baby.
Huey Core Discord, let's go.
Imagine
Plus
if they do
19
that,
Huey
they,
Cyphrek. Sorry,
yeah,
I'll stop.
and they make Huey the elite meta, please. Surely, right?
Yeah, toss us some elite clues while we're at it too.
It's kind of weird how Huey drops hard clues and Moxie drops elites.
Yeah, that whole thing is weird. At least it drops clues.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I'm stuck in Colosseum right now. Not fun clue-wise.
All right, well, we'll end it here. So, thank you for listening, everyone. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll also be putting Camping's YouTube in the description if you want to go follow him. Clue / Clogger Degenerate as well. And also put Weaki's YouTube, but that's some very, very high-tech clue text. Right
Nah,
there, so.
I don't even upload. Don't bother with that. If I upload, it's probably gonna be like a weird speed run or whatever.
Super cooked. All right. So peace out. Take
Thanks
care.
for watching.
Peace.
Adios.